We're going to give our afternoon prayer and our pledge, lead our pledge.
Father God, we thank you for this government body that's meeting today. We ask that they minister wisely in the sight of the people that are gathered here today, and bless and use their efforts. I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brother John. I call this meeting to order, and I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
City Attorney Stevens.
Here.
City Treasurer Martin.
Here.
Councilor Holt. Here. Councilor Croom.
Here.
Councilor Hutchison.
Present.
Councilor Robinson.
Present.
Councilor Catt.
Here.
Councilor Pulliam.
Here.
Councilor Taylor.
Here.
Councilor Harris.
Here.
Councilor McClendon.
Present.
And Councilor Mundy is absent. We've got 9 out of 10 present, sir.
Quorum present, we'll proceed with our meeting. The first item on the agenda was the bid openings. Were there any?
I didn't see that.
We had some from planning and development, but I don't know whether we had any bidders or,
Yes, we had one person bid on the demolition project.
okay, I'd like a motion to refer this to planning and development for disposition.
So moved. Second.
All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? They will be referred to P&D for distribution. Minutes of previous meeting, have a copy in your packet. Any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve is submitted.
Second.
I don't know whether I can accept that or not. Mr. Catt didn't make it. He always makes a motion. Have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? They are approved and referred to the body. Oh, let's see what else we have. Under old business, we have a number of ordinances for the second reading. Would you read the first one for the second time?
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding for aerial spraying, ground spraying, and other mosquito control efforts and for other purposes.
Could I have a motion and second to place this on its third and final reading?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? It is approved. Would you give that ordinance a number?
Read it the third time.
Read it for the third time.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding for aerial spraying, ground spraying, and other mosquito control efforts and for other purposes.
That concludes the third and the final reading. Shall the motion pass?
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? It passed. Would you give that ordinance a number?
That'll be ordinance number 2459.
Moving on, the second reading on an ordinance on economic development.
An ordinance to waive competitive bidding for economic development services, approving a contract between the City of West Memphis and the West Memphis Chamber of Commerce and for other purposes.
That concludes the second reading. Could I have a motion and a second to place it on the agenda for the third reading?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? Would you read it for the third and the final time?
An ordinance to waive competitive bidding for economic development services, approving a contract between the City of West Memphis and the West Memphis Chamber of Commerce and for other purposes.
That concludes the third and the final reading. Could I have a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Would you give that ordinance a number?
That'll be ordinance number 2460.
Moving on, the next item on the agenda is on the salary for the city.
No, sir, it's the,
Yeah.
it is, that's right, sure. I'm sorry, you're right. An ordinance to amend section 2.51.030 of the West Memphis Municipal Code establishing the salary for the position of city attorney and for other purposes.
It concludes the second reading. Could I have a motion to suspend the rules and place it on its third reading?
So moved.
All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? It is approved for the third and final reading. Would you proceed, Mr. Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir. An ordinance to amend Section 2.51.030 of the West Memphis Municipal Code establishing the salary for the position of city attorney and for other purposes.
That concludes the third and the final reading. Could I have a motion and a
So
second to
moved.
approve?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? It is approved. Would you give that ordinance a number?
That'll be ordinance number 2461.
We're in the second reading on the ordinance. It has to do with audit reports.
An ordinance to waive competitive bidding on professional accounting services and for other purposes.
Could I have a motion to suspend the rules and place it on its third and final reading?
Second.
All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? Would you read it for the third and the final time?
An ordinance to waive competitive bidding on a professional accounting services and for other purposes.
That concludes the third and the final reading. Could I have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance?
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? It is approved. Would you give that ordinance a number?
That'll be ordinance number 2462.
The next one, it would be the ordinance that has to do with professional services, I believe by A.J. Rowe.
Yes, sir.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding for the professional consulting services and regulatory and other matters to be provided by A.J. Rowe and Associates, Inc., and for other purposes.
Concludes the third and the final. Could I have a motion to suspend the rule and place it on
So
its third
moved.
and final reading?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Would you read it for the third and the final time?
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding for the professional consulting services and regulatory and other matters to be provided by A.J. Rowe and Associates, Inc., and for other purposes.
That concludes the third and the final time. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the
So
ordinance?
moved.
Any
Second.
discussion?
Second.
All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Would you give that ordinance a number?
That'll be ordinance number 2463.
The next one is a ordinance waiving competitive bid on services by Dave Wilson.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding for the professional consulting services in regulatory and other matters to be provided by David Wilson and for other purposes.
That concludes the second reading. Could I have a motion and a second to place it on the
So
agenda for the
moved.
third?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? Would you read it for the final time?
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding for the professional consulting services in regulatory and other matters to be provided by David Wilson and for other purposes.
That concludes the third and the final time. Should I have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance?
So moved.
Any
Second.
discussion? All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved for the third and the final time. Would you give that ordinance a number?
Yeah, that'll be ordinance number 2464.
This next one is one we had some discussion with in pre-council. What's the status of this ordinance?
We're just going to read it the second time.
Would you read the ordinance for the second time?
An ordinance to amend Article 6, Section 1E2 of the pavement requirements in the zoning ordinance for the city of West Memphis, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
That concludes the second reading. It'll be on our next regularly scheduled meeting for the third and the final reading. Get that down. Next one, I believe, is for motor fuel, according to my records. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. An ordinance to waive competitive bidding for the purchase of motor fuel and for other purposes.
That concludes the second reading for that ordinance. Could I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and place it on its third and final reading?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? Would you read it for the third and the final time?
An ordinance to waive competitive bidding for the purchase of motor fuel and for other purposes.
That concludes the third and the final reading. Could I have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? It is carried. Would you give that ordinance a number?
That'll be ordinance number 2465.
The next one is an ordinance that has to do with a special use permit for property at 500 West Broadway.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we table that one, I guess indefinitely until, I guess staff can get with them and try to get something resolved, get the problem resolved that they have over there.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to table it indefinitely. Is that correct?
Yes.
All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous, so it is tabled indefinitely. And for the public's being out here, it means it won't come back up again. It'll have to be started over from its initial acceptance. Mr. City Attorney, I don't guess we need to do anything with it other than approve the tabling.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second to table indefinitely. All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? It is tabled indefinitely.
Mayor, under the new business, I make a motion that we read R1, R2, and O1 by title only.
Second.
Motion and second to read them by title only. All in favor of this by aye?
Aye.
Opposed? We will read them by title only. And for the public's sake, we can read them by title or we can read them in their entirety. And some of those that we have received in times past, it may have 40 pages in them. And it's just as legal to read the title only and not read the 40 pages of the item.
And the city attorney appreciates not reading the entire resolution or ordinance. Appreciate it. A resolution approving the selection of an engineering firm and approving an agreement for engineering services required to provide a National Environmental Policy Act initial process assessment for the I-40 megasite and for other purposes.
It concludes the first reading of this resolution.
Now we just vote on it.
Let's vote on it. All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? That's the first reading.
No, it's-
Did we just,
Resolution just gets one.
yeah, that took care of it. Give it a number.
That'll be resolution number 2165.
Moving on, we have another resolution on an engineering firm.
A resolution approving the selection of an engineering firm and approving an agreement for engineering services required to perform a geotechnical exploration for the I-40 megasite and for other purposes.
You've heard this resolution title read. Could I have a motion and a second to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Would you give this resolution a number?
Be resolution number 2166.
Next item is an item to cover the purchase of 5 police cars for our police department. And we would need to read this one out if it's within your jurisdiction. Would you read the, for the second time, which is by title only?
Yes, first reading.
First
An
reading.
ordinance waiving competitive bidding for the purchase of 5 police vehicles and for other purposes.
Could I have a motion to suspend the rules and place it on the second?
Second.
All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Would you read it for the second time?
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding for the purchase of 5 police vehicles and for other purposes.
Could you suspend the rules and place it on its third and final reading?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? Would you read it for the third and the final time?
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding for the purchase of 5 police vehicles and for other purposes.
That concludes the third and final reading. Could I have a motion?
So
and a-
moved.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion from the public?
Mayor, you might just state why we're waiving competitive bidding on this particular one.
The vehicles are very scarce. They were not available, and by waiting until going through the proper way, the next 3 months, it was going to cost us an additional $13,000. So the decision was made to waive bids on them and buy them at the state bid contract price.
Thank you.
Anything else? Do I have the motion in the second?
We've not voted yet.
If not, we've got it on the floor.
Correct.
All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? Yeah, now it's carried.
Now we give an ordinance.
Now,
That'll be ordinance number 2466.
2466.
Mayor, we may come back to the council to ask permission to take out a loan. I'm working on that now, but we got time to do that.
Okay. Well, let's see, I need permission to sign a letter of intent that we discussed at length in pre-council.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second to allow me to sign it. All in favor by aye? Aye. Opposed? I'll sign it. Moving into committee reports, I'll start down here to the right. Lorraine,
You want me to go now?
I think you may be the only one.
We have personnel as well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Ms. Lorraine, you take it. Go ahead.
Well, if you say so, I'll take it.
We'll double your pay.
Oh, please. Right, the West Memphis Police Commission met March 21st in the absence of Mr. Mundy, who has a doctor's appointment today. We had asked the police chief to do a comprehensive study on the feasibility of getting body cams. He did that study, and after a comprehensive study and careful evaluation by Chief Oakes on purchasing body cameras, he recommended to the commission that the police department wait to purchase the body cameras for the following reasons. Number one, it's not cost efficient at this time to purchase them. Number two, the body cameras will be more cost efficient in the near future. Number three, we have to consider the Privacy Act, the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. When you go into a person's home and you have the body cameras on, it becomes public record, and most certainly we want to keep the privacy of our citizens best in rep as we possibly can. And then number four, monies will be better spent purchasing SkyCop cameras at this particular time than body cameras. And also the commission approved buying 2018 cars for the police department at a savings of about $3,000 per car, which would be about $15,000 for 5 cars. The commission approved that, and we referred it on to the budget committee. After much discussion on body cameras, SkyCop cameras, the commission accepted Chief Oakes' recommendation to wait on purchasing body cameras until a later date. Chief Oakes also reported that there are currently 14 SkyCop cameras installed, and 5 more have been ordered. He also reported that Cracker Barrel donated $6,500 to the Police Foundation to purchase a SkyCop to be placed on their property, and this is to try to curtail some of the negativism that's on social media and other places because of all the break-ins that are currently there at Cracker Barrel. Chief Oakes reported that the Community Relation Coordinator has a lot of programs planned for the upcoming year. The department plans to become real involved with the Boys Club, Girls Clubs, and other organizations here in the city of West Memphis to promote and progress our city forward. An Easter program is planned for Saturday, which we had it March 31st at Horton Parks. They're going to serve funnel cakes, hot dogs, snow cones, etc. Everything is being donated. There will be lots of funds and games, where there were lots of funds and games at the park. I was in attendance, and of course, I wanted to go down the slide, but the cartouche can't take it anymore. So we just decided to enjoy the children on that particular day. The fair, everything was donated. It was a lot of fun. The kids just enjoyed themselves. I posted a lot of pictures on my Facebook page, and that's what it was all about, the children just having lots and lots of fun, and they did. I heard Miss Robinson's name ring it. Miss Robinson, hey, Miss Robinson. So glad to see so many of the children out. Of course, the police department, they're planning community meetings at the churches schools basically, some churches that we had the last go-round because it was so successful. We were planning to have those community meetings again. I don't know exactly when they're all planned, but we've had 2 already. So we are planning to have more of those community meetings. And that's a gist of what we talked about at the commission meeting last Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay, Personnel Committee meeting was yesterday, April the 4th. We were in talks, actually there was a presentation given from the Works Health and Fitness Center from Mr. Hamilton Archibald. He gave a very detailed presentation in regards to the city partnering with the fitness center for possibly better health, better workouts, and things that would be beneficial to each individual with the city, or, you know, if they would like to become a part of it. But that's going to be an ongoing thing. We continue to express interest, so that's going to be an ongoing thing in terms of conversations. We also went over the catastrophic leave program, and just real quickly, for employees and for individuals that are really not familiar, the catastrophic leave program is actually established as a mechanism to allow employees to donate vacation or sick hours to a bank in the event that something catastrophic happens, and it's completely voluntary. It's not mandatory, but this is something that Ms. Coleman has been working on. Thank you so much for continuing to work on it. There are a few revisions I think that will be made, but that is ongoing as well. We had several issues that were discussed from department heads in terms of their employees and concerns that they had that we will address at our next meeting. And the biggest announcement from the meeting would be a job fair. The City of West Memphis and Arkansas Workforce will have a job fair on May 16th from 9 to 12. So we will be bringing more information, I'm certain, between now and then, and hoping that will be a great success. And that was pretty much it, Mayor Johnson.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from down in this direction? Tracy?
Budget, concerning 01, they received the recommendation from the police department, approved by the budget committee, was unanimous. To either our cash position is in such a way that we could pay, but with everything else that's going on with the analysis coming from HR, with determining when we want to order the new ambulance and the other 2 cars for the inspectors at the fire department, felt it would be best to finance those, but that would be an administration decision. They'll bring it back to you. And we're waiting for our next meeting to go over the audit report we just received from the state of Arkansas and further updates from HR.
Okay.
Public Works, I didn't bring my notes, I'm sorry, they're in the car, but we do need to have a brief Public Works called meeting immediately following this meeting. I do have the notes from the A&P meeting. We only have collections from January 2018, which were $114,548. That is down $2,500 from the previous January. The major business that we took care of is agreeing to participate in the bike share program, which will mean there will be bike rentals at the trailhead across from Poncho's and then at the base of the bridge. So you'll be able to rent a bike for $5 an hour. They'll maintain them and make sure that we keep 10 bikes there at all times. So it looks like it's a real good opportunity. That concludes my report.
Any other commissions or reports? Well, we've had a distinguished-looking group all day today. Who's the spokesman for this group? The junior leadership.
Nobody?
My name is Chelsea Arnold, and I'm a 9th grader at my junior high.
Are you the mayor? Bring the
Mayor,
mayor.
I told you to be a woman.
This is the year of the woman. Yay.
Since it was 19-1.
19-1, yes.
Hello, my name is Chelsea Arnold, and I'm a 9th grader at one junior high, and I was the elected mayor of the day today. So,
What did you promise them?
I promised to. I promise to draw people to West Memphis, including residents and visitors, help with the poverty and the crime rate, and to get the city council more involved with the community and more known with the community. Those are the 4 points I promised.
Well, come on forward up here. You have some work to complete that goes with that job. They didn't tell you about that, did they? Do we have anybody here for citizens' request? I don't have it in this sign-up sheet.
Mayor,
Yes.
I got one thing I did want to add real quick. I just kind of want to piggyback on what Ms. Robson said in her report. This past Saturday at Horton Park, I want to commend our police department for doing an excellent job. We had so many children out there. Several of the council people came out and for a minute, as well as the funnel cakes, the slides, everything was right. But most important, what I'm really excited about is that the number of new officers that we got that's going to be patrolling our city, and it's a good look for West Memphis.
Good.
come on, sit down.
And Mayor, before we adjourn, I did want to invite the council members and then the public on Saturday at 10 a.m. West Memphis Public Library is going to host the planting of the World War I Centennial Commemoration Tree at 10 o'clock. So the library is working with American Legion and VFW to make this a meaningful event, so come out.
And also the Martin Luther King exhibit at the the Academies of West Memphis in the old gymnasium is really, really wonderful. I didn't get a chance to attend the grand opening, but I did go yesterday. And if you have not gotten a chance to go out and see all the wonderful things that all the businesses and churches, schools has put on at that, for that exhibit, it's really, really wonderful. We are commemorating the life, the death, and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. And they will be open until April 8th, which is Sunday. I think they're going to open at 10 o'clock Sunday. So if you haven't had an opportunity to go by and look at that, it is really wonderful. Mrs. Higgins and her committee has done such a wonderful job.
Anything else to come before the council?
And also to the mayor, today, my daughter and my son are teachers at Wonder Junior, so make sure when you become mayor, you put in a word to the school board to give good raises.
I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
We can't let you adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned.